So last week we talked about risks, why understanding the risks inherent in your business, what your business's risk profile is, and how mitigating risk can help protect your business. This week we're going to talk about one of my absolute favorite topics in law, contracts. And I'm serious, I love contracts because contracts allow me to use my creativity. There's really only one parameter around a contract, and that is you cannot contract for anything illegal. So the best example, of course, is that you can't contract for murder. There's no murder for hire. But then once you dig into business topics like employment law, intellectual property, and business entities, yes, all of those areas of law have statutes, regulations, administrative codes, and case law precedent with things you can't do. But really, when you think about the breadth and depth of what businesses do, how every business is different, every business's risk profile is different, there is a lot you can do in contracts. One of the best things your business can do in a contract is use it to mitigate your risk. How can you mitigate your risk if you don't understand your risk profile? Going back to last week. And then if you understand your risk profile, but the DIY system you use to create a contract doesn't, that contract's not going to do what you want it to do. That's why it's really important to work with an attorney who understands your business's inherent risks, risk profile, and risk mitigation strategies, and is then able to craft contracts and other documents for you that actually implement those mitigation strategies and reflect your business's risk profile. Honestly, at their heart, contracts are allocations of risk. When we enter into agreements with third parties, be them vendors, clients, employees, or lessors, tenants, landlords, whoever the case may be, when we enter into those agreements, we are recognizing that there is risk here and we need to cover it. We recognize too that no matter how risk adverse our small business is, we also have to deal with the risk profile of the third party that we're contracting with. Again, we don't exist in a vacuum. Just because your small business doesn't want to take on any risk does not mean that the vendors that you hire or the clients that you engage with are going to be okay with that. They have their own risk profile too. That's why it's my job as an attorney to help your business recognize its risk profile, propose terms to the other party that fit that risk profile, and then help counsel you on what to do when the other party isn't willing to accept the risks that you've pushed off to them. Because at the end of the day, it's few and far between when you get a contract that's perfectly protective of your company. But what we do is we work with the other party to figure out what risks do they really care about based on their risk profile, give solutions about how we can mitigate those risks as business partners or as employee-employer. And then we step back after we've agreed to those provisions and we implement risk mitigation strategies on our own end. One of my favorite examples is indemnification. Just saying the word, hearing the word gives business people like the heebie-jeebies. They hate indemnification. It's scary. It's a big word. They don't really know what it means except that it can cost them a lot of money, so we don't indemnify. Well, sometimes that's just not going to happen. Depending on who the third party is, you may have to provide an indemnity. One, they might have a lot more leverage or bargaining power than you do, and you have to accept their terms there. Or possibly it's a situation where you really should be indemnifying because of the work that you're providing for that client. So what do? You first have to take a step back and think about what is the risk that this indemnity will be used. Then, if the indemnity is used, what is the risk to my business? What's the monetary? What's the reputational? How long is it going to take me to deal with this? How much money is it going to cost me to indemnify this third party? Then what do? You mitigate the risk. You get insurance that covers this type of indemnity. You make sure that the amount you're paying for the insurance is a cost benefit, and under a cost benefit analysis is cost neutral to the risk that the indemnity will come up. And finally, you hire an attorney to write a contract that reflects all of this. Not just that there is an indemnity, but what the indemnity is and how insurance applies to it. So again, it's really important to work with a business attorney when you're writing your contracts. Contracts allocate your business risk, and it's extremely important that your contracts reflect the risk that you are okay with and that you understand the risks that you are taking on in your contract.